All right. Are we live? We're live? All right. Welcome, everybody. We are live for another week here on the channel. We're really excited here. Cody, welcome again. I'm really excited to do this with you. It's been a lot of fun. And guys, we're going to be really diving in today on this live stream and really talking about direct mail, how that plays a role in your wholesaling business. We've got a special guest here. Brian, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Awesome. We got Brian and his wife is going to join us as well. Are you there too?
Yes, hi.
And her name is Samantha. We're glad to have this power duo with us.
Yeah, and we're going to actually do a breakdown of a live deal on today's call. So, but Cody, you know, this is a topic that's a very important topic, very popular topic. It's a marketing strategy that as wholesalers for some wholesalers, it's a very prevalent part of your business. It's something that if you're going to dive into that world of direct mail, it's a type of marketing strategy that you really want to learn how to do well, because it is expensive, or it can be expensive. You know, there's a cost for sure to it. So we don't want to throw money away at direct mail, which is easy to do. So we want to learn how to be very effective with direct mail. But this is a technique that's been around for a long time, and even with the internet, and even with PPC and cold calling and text and all these other things that we can do today that we really didn't do very long ago, direct mail can still be an extremely effective way to get in front of motivated sellers. I mean, Cody, for you, how much is this a part of your business, and how's it really helped you with your business?
So that is a great question. Direct mail, guys, this is a topic. This is a hot topic. I hear from everyone, direct mail's dead, direct mail's dead. And I'm like, God bless you guys. More deals for me. Let's go. And so direct mail is a huge part of our business. We do that religiously every single month. Now, to kind of put a beginning on this, I want you guys to understand also, that's where I started. I started direct mail. I started no other marketing place than direct mail. That was my beginning place. Why? Because many of you that are listening right now are probably in the same seat, the same shoes that I was in when I got into this. And that was, I wasn't doing it full time. I needed something that could be pretty much automated and that could be scalable without my hours, because I didn't have hours. I was working a 9-to-5 selling insurance. And so I needed to pick a marketing channel that I could literally just say, upload a list, click, mail out on this day. And that way, all I had to do was wait for the phone call to come in, versus some of these proactive ways like cold calling. Yes, that's part of my business now, but it definitely was not at the beginning, because that literally physically took man hours. And I don't know about you guys, but if I would have came home from a 9-to-5 and said, hey, sorry, sweetie, put the kids to bed, I'm going to go pick up the phone and start dialing for dollars, I don't know how many months that would have lasted before my wife would have said, not supporting this one. Like, go back to insurance full time. I can't do this. And so, guys, I want you to understand, direct mail is so beautiful for the beginning wholesaler. And today we're going to break it down why it's still very active part of my business, where we'll do over $1 million in Utah alone just from direct mail. But more importantly, our special guests, Brian and Samantha May from Las Vegas, they are going to break down 2 deals, like a live case study, guys. I can't make this, Jerry couldn't make this any simpler. We're really trying to break this down so granular. They're going to be sharing with you step by step how they just did 2 deals from direct mail. So I want you guys to get a piece of paper, get a pen, and jot down the gold nuggets that are going to be shared today, because I want 2021 to be a year of action, not inaction. I want imperfect action, not building a perfect plan. Just jot down one action item you learned tonight and go take massive imperfect action starting tomorrow. So that's where I start out. Jerry, anything you want to add before we get going?
Yeah, so I forgot to mention, Cody, but if you guys are following right now, if you're watching live, I think the chat's open, right, Cody? So go ahead and leave some comments. Let us know you're here as we go through the training we're going to do today. Cody will probably try to pull up some comments if you have that. We're going to try to make some time to get to your questions if you've got questions. But the topic tonight is direct mail. So if you've got specific questions about that, we'd love to try to get to those questions. And Samantha and her husband are gonna be sharing about the 2 deals they got from direct mail, recent deals. Yeah, you're flipping geniuses. Love it. Awesome. And where this plays a role in your business. And I love something you said, Cody, which is direct mail. What's so powerful about it is it creates inbound. And I love inbound in the business where you now have people calling in you saying, hey, I want to sell my house. Let's talk. That's a beautiful thing. And direct mail can create that. So yeah, I'm just excited to kind of dive into the mechanics of it. Let's hear really what this is going to look like for you. And hopefully the big takeaway, Cody, that we want is what can you do listening right now to do your next deal using direct mail, right? What do you need to do in the next 30 days to get your next deal using direct mail? So awesome.
Okay. Let's mute you for 2 seconds so we don't get the echo. Brian, Samantha, give us, after this intro now of like, oh man, when are we going to go live? You're live. Here we go. So break us down. Give us a high level view of you guys. Tell us a little bit about yourself and give us like just a background so people can understand very much maybe where you came from prior to wholesaling and the time you have been wholesaling. Because I think what we'll realize is your story is going to resonate with many individuals here that might be sitting there thinking, can I do it? Like, is it for me? Is it not for me? So give us a background where you came from before you got into wholesaling and how long you've been wholesaling.
You want me to start or to start? Want me to start? So I am self-employed. I've been self-employed since I was 16. Never worked for anybody. Own a window tinting company here in Las Vegas, and all of a sudden I started to had to start paying a lot of taxes. So I'm like, oh, I need to get into real estate. It's the only way I know. And went to Robert Kiyosaki and dropped a whole bunch of money, and that didn't go nowhere. And then got on your course, and we've been doing it almost a year now. And in the beginning, it's all business is a struggle, that's for sure. Doesn't happen overnight, but we just kept doing it. And then it was kind of crazy, not just one deal, but 2 deals back to back. High equity, older.
Let's break this down. Hold on. You're going right to it. I'm going to slow you down. I want you to see the beauty behind that. So you're in a trade that, were you getting frustrated with the trade you were in and what you were doing, and it was just not turning out the way you saw you wanted to live your life? Like, what really got you flustered to say, hey, let's jump into something more?
No, actually, it's not so much the trade. I think it's more time freedom. Because without me, there is no more window tinting business. So it's a whole time freedom. I'm not no spring chicken no more. So I had to look at some other options. So we started buying some rental properties. And then when we started buying rental properties, obviously all of our cash started to dry up. So what's the best way to do it? And I think wholesaling, and that's going to be the cream of the crop to where you can venture off and start building different things.
I love this. So far, I agree with you 100%, guys. For those that are listening and just chiming in, we're going to be talking about wholesaling, and specifically we're going to talk about direct mail and how to do deals and how they just recently did 2 deals. But something to think about already out of the gate is the best way, and I sincerely mean this, Jerry, I'd love to see your feedback on this as well, is I do believe wholeheartedly what Brian and Samantha are going to be talking about. Wholesaling is the absolute best way to get involved in real estate. It is a way to make an absolute fortune in a very wholesome, quick way. So, Jerry, do you want to throw on any of that?
Well, yeah. So, you're so right, because there's a low barrier to entry. It's low risk because you're not owning property like you do with rentals or even with fix and flip, right? So your investment into the deals is very minimal, and yet you can pull out these big checks from doing deals. So yeah, it definitely is low risk, low barrier to entry. The fastest way, I don't know, a faster way to make 6 figures and mid 6 figures, even 7 figures than wholesaling real estate. So yeah, definitely the way to go there. And so, for you guys, Brian and Samantha, you're doing this other business. You got into real estate for the depreciation side of owning rental property. Quickly realized that, man, this can actually be a very high income, active income business model. And so is that what happened? Is that you kind of saw that and then did a transition to make this more of your active income strategy? Is that what happened?
Yeah. So obviously I still have my window tinting business. So I'm obviously have to build this up more and more to get rid of that. Or basically just step away, probably sell it. But my wife behind me, she's very quiet, but she'll start talking. She's actually a charge nurse at Mountain View Hospital. So she's starting to get involved with me. So it's basically a dual team.
I love it. Samantha, tell us a little bit about yourself. You guys attacked this together then, which I think is pretty dang cool. I don't know many spouses that say, hey, let's work side by side and be by each other side by side. My wife would be like, no, get out of here.
No, I enjoy every minute with Brian, so it doesn't bother me at all.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. So guys, you start getting some simple instruction. Hey, you go through a course, it starts telling you send out direct mail. Was there any of this like reservation inside that's like, ugh, direct mail? Or were you one of those people that were just like, you know what? They say do it. Whether I like it or not, I'm just gonna follow and do exactly what they say.
Actually, no. Is that better with the light? Unfortunately, sorry.
Yeah, that's really fine. You guys don't worry about it. You two look fantastic. In fact, one of the comments in here was, I wish I had a beautiful woman to work by my side, and it said, any takers?
Thank you. No, whatever you guys told me to do, Cody, we just did it. This business I'm no expert in, so I can't second guess you and be like, oh no, he doesn't know what he's talking about. That wouldn't make any sense. And for me to look at the price value of sending the direct mail out, unfortunately, you have to spend money to make a little bit of money. Not always the case. It just depends on how fast you want to make it, put it that way.
So tell me, maybe right out of the gate, what did that look like for you? What budget did you set aside for direct mail with these, the two deals we're going to be talking about? Let's talk about, you said you sent out, was it just in one mail out, or was this over multiple mail outs?
So we did, like you said, I think we didn't have a budget. I just said, let's just do it. So I think it was 7,000 and
7,000 mail pieces.
So we sent out, 7,000 divided by 4 weeks.
Okay.
So whatever.
So 7,000 divided by 4 and sent equally every single week.
Yes, correct.
Guys, take note. This is gold.
And then all of a sudden, that was it. Basically, just got one phone call after another phone call. A lot of looky lists.
Sorry, I had that question come in. What list were you mailing to?
Oh, sorry. So it was high equity, absentee, and then it was also, I kind of did it to the age of 45 and higher.
That's awesome. So high equity, and did you say absentee owner or just high equity?
Absentee owner.
That's
so
awesome.
High equity,
so people that don't live in the home with high equity.
Yeah, absentee and then 45 and higher.
45. Jerry.
Yeah. I want to. So can I comment on that? So guys, you guys that are listening right now, let's think about what he did here. So when you mail to a list, we want to have as many touch points as we can that will indicate it's a motivated seller list, right? So he did a technique called list stacking, where what he's doing is he's taking a few different motivated seller pain points, let's call them, and he's kind of combining them. Now, there's some good and bad to that. The good is that you get a very high concentrated list, although it's going to be a smaller list, right? But it's going to be a more powerful list because he combined high equity which means they've got there's room in their deals for them to sell at a discount, right? Equity means the difference between what they owe and what it's worth. So that's important to have equity, and they put that on top of absentee owner. If you don't know what that means, it means that they own the property, but it's not their primary residence. And typically it's a rental property, but it could be they moved out of state or, whatever, but they own this property. It's not their primary residence. That tends to be a motivation because, a house is a cost to somebody. So they're paying insurance, they're paying taxes, they're paying maintenance. They own this property that they're not living in. So that could be a pain point. And then he added a third one, which was 45 and up. Now, why did you add an age filter in your list? I'm curious.
Did his bug out? Hey, Brian, did you hear that question? Oh, hold on. It's stuttering. Can you hear him on your end, Jerry? Brian, speak again. Can you hear? We can't hear you. On your end, it's splotchy. The internet connection probably. Is this on a phone or a computer? Maybe if it's on a phone, stand up and see if connection is any better anywhere in that room. We lost audio on you.
Maybe hit your refresh button too if you're on your computer, like refresh your page.
While he's doing that, guys, let me break down a couple of these questions so that.
Good question.
There you go. There you go. Now we hear you.
Stop
me for a second.
Think if I'm mistaken.
Okay, here's a question that is good from here. Where did you get the list for 7,000 pieces? Uh-oh. Let me answer some of these questions while we're figuring this out. So here is a question that I want to pinpoint here is where you get this list. There is a simple one called List Source. That's just a very simple, easy format.
You.
Let's see if we can.
Maybe Cody, he should just like close down and log back into the link.
Okay,
try that.
Let's have you close down and then log back in.
I can.
Okay, so guys, there's a simple one, listsource.com. That's an easy one that you can go in there. In fact, I'll put in that the same place a few weeks ago. I think it was the first week. We ended up putting in a bunch of Jerry's scripts and my scripts in one platform. And it is, let me make sure, we might even have the banner up for that. Let me put that out there. It's right here. It's this link at the bottom. If you go to this, it's goref.com/live. That gives you access to every one of Jerry's scripts and my scripts. And at the end of this show, keep this URL. I'll add in there so that you guys can get a discount on some lists from ListSource. It ends up being 3 cents a piece. That's cheap, guys. Cheap, cheap, cheap. It's normally about 35 cents a piece if you do the filters that he is talking about, where you go for high equity, absentee owner, and you start narrowing it down by age. The list, every time you add a filter, just gets more expensive. And I'll be able to give you a way that no matter what filter you type in, you get it for 3 cents a lead. So I'll put that in that link. This will be a living, breathing platform that me and Jerry will keep adding to so we can help you guys get out of your way and keep wholesaling. But then the other question that was on there was how much does it cost to send out 7,000 pieces? Jerry, do you do any mailing in your business, or do you want me to jump on this one? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, we do. We do a range of things from a very simple postcard, which is obviously going to be the least expensive, and then we have a one-page, more of a mail piece in an envelope style that we try out a little bit too. We're always playing with it. We're always kind of testing and trying new pieces. I mean, we've got our favorite go-tos that we kind of use, but yeah, I mean, on average, I think we budget just to be safe for you guys. Now, you obviously it depends on volume and a lot of different things, but I typically tell people if you're going to do a letter, you know, around $1 a mail, and this is for me to outsource it too. By the way, this is not me licking envelopes, or a postcard, you know, around 50 cents, maybe a little less.
Yep.
You know, as a ballpark. Now, Cody, I'd be curious to hear what you pay, and again, everything's based on volume. So if you mail, you know, in 2012, Cody, was my highest year mailing. We did over 1 million, not spend, but million mail pieces in 2012. So we just found it was just so effective for some reason that year. So we did a lot of it.
Yeah. Okay, let me mute for 2 seconds and I'll answer that so it doesn't echo. But guys, when it comes to cost, we're at about, for postcards. So letters, you're probably about what Jerry said. If you want to outsource it, you can do it cheaper if you do it for yourself. But I too, like Jerry, I don't want to get like, what was it? Was it Seinfeld where they licked so much glue on the envelope that she ends up dying before the wedding or something? And so, no, I don't want to lick the envelopes. And so we outsource if we do that. We outsource our postcards too, but our postcards end up being 37 cents a piece. I would be glad to just share who we use. Jerry, if you're fine with that, I'll even put that in there. In fact, I might even have a banner for that. Let me make sure. I do. So this one right here, right? Nope. Let's take that off. Right there. So that one right there, that one, openlettermarketing.com/REFF. That'll get you my pricing on postcards. So if that's something you want to do, have at it. You'll get 37 cents a postcard. It's very self-explanatory. It's through a company literally called Open Letter Marketing. And they know that when you go to that portal, they better take care of you. So if you don't get that, you let me know. We got Brian back, so hold on 1 second. All right, Brian and Samantha, let's see if that works.
Different computer. Better?
Oh, dude, that sounds so much better. That sounds great.
Well,
A Mac versus a PC.
yeah.
I'm telling you, whoever tries to pick up a PC, like, no, that's like the age of the dinosaurs. Come on, Brian.
I got to do a couple more deals for a Mac.
More and more. Awesome. Well, guys, we were just going over some of the things while you were logging back in, and you can validate, verify. For where did you get your list for the absentee owner?
It was, sorry, so you're not at the top. ListSource.
ListSource. Perfect. That's what we just said. So we're on cue. And then about how much per mail piece is it costing you on the postcard?
Good question. I don't know. I mean, you want to, I
It's
don't
okay.
know.
It's about, did you go through the open letter marketing?
Yeah.
37 cents, guys. 37 cents.
There you go.
So rock and roll. Well, let's keep going. So you send out these mailers and you start getting phone calls in. You said you sent out 7,000 mailers over 4 weeks. So guys, keep listening to this. This is good stuff. Phone calls are coming in. Now let's break down the deals. So 2 of those come in. Is this from the same seller or 2 separate sellers?
2 separate sellers.
2 separate sellers. So walk us through, just in case something bugs out or one of our computers give up the ghost, what is the best? And if we have time for both, let's go through both. But let's go through the best deal first, just in case something glitches.
Okay. So the best.
The funny thing is that one was his call and one was my call.
Okay. So the
Yeah.
best was probably Samantha's.
And they were within like a week of each other.
Actually, it's right. She was the best, actually. It was, yeah, she was the best, actually. So he was both absentee. He was an older gentleman. He was blind, not completely blind. So
He had some health issues and he had a renter in there, and he was a tired landlord, and he wanted to get out of it. So, and dealing with the health issues, he wasn't able to repair stuff in the house or anything like that. So that's where obviously he got our postcard and gave us a call. So we went and took a look at it, and
that was a whole different scenario.
I will never wear flip-flops. Take note, do not wear flip-flops when going and looking at houses.
Yes.
Bad idea. Yeah.
So yeah, we get there, we start off at like 195,000.
That's where they wanted.
He wanted it. The ARV was like 244.
Okay. And was the home in good condition, bad condition?
Well, she's saying no, but for him over the phone, yes, it was in great condition because he really can't see. So he really didn't know.
Well, this is kind of like, I get this all the time. Jerry can chime in on this too. I literally get this all the time. They're like, the kitchen was just remodeled, and I literally go out to the house, and the kitchen is literally the worst kitchen I've ever seen. And so I literally did this as a joke. I literally said this. I'm all, so do you have a second kitchen? and they're like, no, this is it. I'm like, well, you told me it was remodeled, and it was atrocious, guys. But literally, I'm like, these sellers sometimes tell us things. You go there and you're like,
yeah, that was basically the case. So we go there. He wasn't able to go, so we went, met with the tenant,
renter, yeah.
And we knew he had dogs, but he was raising pit bulls. So when we walked in, it was nothing but urine and feces everywhere.
now, guys, just so you know, before they go any further, what smells like dog crap for investors smells like money. Keep going.
Yes. So,
And Jerry, don't feel like you can't chime in anytime. We just have it muted just for echo purposes. But if you want to chime in, we'll both kind of get ready for your gold nugget that you're going to drop.
Yeah. So basically, we just walked through it, took pictures. The kitchen was there was nothing remodeled any which way about it. There was rats that we came to find out. Like, he's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, there's rats. So I'm filling in like holes on the bottom, which are like this big underneath the cabinets with foam. And I'm like, oh my God. So long story short, after she walked in the backyard and there was this, unfortunately, crap everywhere. I don't know what made her possessed to wear sandals, but
first time.
Yeah,
wasn't thinking.
So
you're like, I'm in Vegas. It's hot. I wear sandals.
So so then we had to go back to obviously the seller and renegotiate, which he did not want to do until we showed him the pictures. And then his wife was like, we have to do this. Come to find out, the real motivation was his daughter needed a house. So he needed this money to close on so he can buy a house for his daughter. And, once you start spending some time with them and they start to like break down the real reasons.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to have Jerry chime in on this because I think there's some valid things here that you're talking about when it comes to you go to the house and it's not what they say it is, and how you can also use that for renegotiating. Jerry, do you want to take away on some of the gold nuggets you're already hearing and want to share and make sure the audience is listening to?
Yeah, so definitely. So first of all, one thing I want to point out here to everybody listening is when you're doing an absentee owner and you find out that it's a landlord, it's a buy and hold investor, for me, that changes everything about how I approach this seller now because it's an investor. And when you're talking to an investor, it's a totally different conversation than if you're talking directly to a homeowner living in the home. And so because now it becomes all about the numbers, right? They're an investor. So, and this is a property that they've put money into. They're looking at cash flow. They're looking at repairs. They're looking at this thing in a much different way than a homeowner looks at it. So then I'm able to then treat that differently. Does that make sense? So I tend to be very direct with a buy and hold investor about a tired landlord situation than I would if it's, Aunt Betty and she's lived in the house for 20 years kind of situation. Way different. So you can be much more direct. You can be much more bold. you can say, look, these are the issues. There's all these repairs that need done. You know, here's my number, here's why my number. And you can kind of go that route, and you can get away with so much more than you can if you're dealing with a direct homeowner. So I kind of wanted to point that out. And Cody, maybe you've kind of faced that too, but it's important to know that because you can reposition how you approach the seller when you're talking to an investor, right? Yeah. And I love what you said about motivation. So one of the key things that we always try to figure out with a seller is what's the motivation. When you find out the motivation, that also is a game changer because now you can custom tailor your offer based on that seller's needs. And so in this case, it was more important to get the cash out of the property. And so then, you know, you're able to then focus on, well, you know, let's get you some cash as quickly as we can, or however you position that, and get a deal done, right? So a couple things that I picked up there. The one question I didn't get answered, which I was really curious about, is why 45 years old as one of your filters?
I want to say, Cody, didn't you say that on a? I want to say Cody's the one that about it.
Yeah, it's just a test and try thing.
Followed what he said, and we pulled it. And honestly, I love that list. I would hit that list in every state. We just got actually today, a lady 72 years old, lived in this house 42 years she's owned it, and she needs to get rid of it. She raised her kids in it. She doesn't even live there no more. Doesn't even care about that.
And that's a new lead that you got today?
Just today. And then we just closed on, we just funded on another house today. So,
So Cody, what's the idea behind that? I mean, I know why, but why do you put that age filter in there when you're lead stacking your list?
I'm going to mute you for 2 seconds. Oh, you got it. Typically why, guys, is a lot of the younger people don't have a home at this age anyways, or they own a home that they don't live in. So you're wasting a lot of mail. If they do are absentee, I mean, usually it's because the actual report is off and it's saying it's absentee when they're not. But literally, it just filters down to someone that's more prone to sell that actually fits the tab. A lot of times when you're in your I'll put it this way. When you are in like at 45, typically, statistically speaking, you should have more equity. You got to remember, guys, that when it comes down to a deal equates to two things: motivation and equity. And so the older the individual is, statistically speaking, they should have more equity, which allows the deal to take place. Most times, if you're working with like a younger homeowner, it could be an absentee home where they don't live there. It's not their first home or their second home. But there's also usually not enough amortization going on their schedule, buy down on their mortgage. So there's not enough equity to really make it a deal. So we really want to hone in and make sure we're not wasting our marketing dollars, because those marketing dollars are gold and you have to use them to the best of your ability so that you're not wasting them, because every dollar is sacred in my house. And I have to make sure I'm targeting.
Yeah, so Cody, so let's say somebody's listing right now and they want an even more concentrated list. Let's say that you've only got so much budget and you want to really get a good list, and maybe only 1,000 instead of 7,000. Could you add a filter where you go even older, like let's say 50 or 55 or 60 on the age? What would that do to your list?
Good question. Small. For you. Okay, there you go. It might make it too tight. So here's what I would do. I would leave the funnel open, and I would actually add the filter of hot zip codes. So I would look where activity's going on in your market, and you can check with a real estate agent, or just go to I think it's what is it? Is it realestate.com? Everyone gets access to the MLS, just their version. But you can start to see what areas are selling, but not just selling, guys, cash sells, where cash deals are happening. So that's crucial. You want to then find out of all of those people, you'd download them, put them on a spreadsheet, you'd see all the zip codes, and then you could start to see and line up afterwards. You can go on the MLS or an agent and find out, hey, what are the hot zip codes? Where are a lot of cash buyers buying homes? Where are a lot of the rehabs going on? And those realtors will tell you, hey, this zip code, this zip code, this zip code. And so if I was going to get hyper focused because I was budget restricted, I don't know if I would budget restrict it due to age as much as now I just narrow it down to the hot zip codes.
Yeah, let me add something to that. I love that. That's a great way to look at it. Another filter that we are having a lot of success with, and we don't know what to call them, so we call them empty nester. But again, it's targeting the baby boomers, and we'll put a filter in years owned. So for example, they've owned the home for 15 years or 20 years, and then they're also an older age. And what we found is because the baby boomers are getting older and they're retiring in groves, it's like 10,000 a day or some crazy numbers right now. They're downsizing, they're moving into assisted living. And so if they've owned their home for a long time, they're older in age and they've got equity, there's a very high probability that there's a seller there looking to sell. So that could be another way to kind of tackle your list. But the point here, guys, is, you're stacking, right? You're taking different motivation pain points. You're taking equity as kind of your primary overall. Like, I don't think we mail to a list that's not high equity. Right? Because like Cody said, if there's no equity, we're only left to maybe some creative financing strategies, but we're really looking for high equity no matter what. And then we can add in all kinds of different things like pre-foreclosure or whatever, but absentee owner is an awesome one. Put an age in there. That's gonna make sure your list is even better. And then now when you mail, you're really maximizing your dollars, I think is kind of the main point.
Awesome. So you got it, Jerry. So you go out there, you get this, you see there's dog crap everywhere. Your poor wife is in the wrong shoes, stepping in all of it. You see all these rat holes, you're seeing everything, and now you can go back with some negotiating power. Ultimately, when you brought this up, you said the wife was more on your side saying, yeah, we've got to get this done and look at this. This is not what we thought it was. This is bad stuff. Ultimately, they wanted 195. What were you able to negotiate them down to because of that?
175.
175. So guys, here's the other thing is, do you feel like you guys are experts at wholesaling, experts at negotiating?
No.
This is a setup question, guys. I feel like I've been doing this for 5 years and I still have so much room for growth, so much room for learning. Jerry has been doing this longer than I have. And even if he said he knows it all, the best saying, in fact, this is a mutual friend from what Brian was saying earlier before we got on, is Orrin Woodward. He always says there's nothing worse than a know-it-all that doesn't know it all. There is nothing worse, guys. We always got to be humble. We have always got to be coachable. And there's always room for improvement. But here's why I brought this up. When someone is motivated, Brian, Samantha, can you really mess it up?
No. Very hard.
Very hard. Guys, I'm trying to say this in a way that doesn't sound like it's like easy. Yes, it's going to take work. Yes, it's going to take marketing. Yes, it's going to take you to a lot of people to get to the point that you find someone that's motivated. But I also want to tell you guys, there's some that are so motivated, I could literally drop off with my 12-year-old and say, hey, son, I want you to go up there and knock on the door and drop him this piece of paper and tell him to sign right here. And that will close in 15 days. And my son would be like, I sign right here, and awkward, right? And they would sign it, and my boy would bring back a signed contract. You cannot mess up a motivated seller. The only thing you can mess up is not taking action. That's the only thing you can mess up in this game. So I love that you're sharing what you're sharing. You get it for 175. What do you do from there? Do you want to add anything, Jerry, by the way?
No, just real quick, a thought here with that is, our goal is to find that motivated seller. And when you find that motivated seller, we put a number in front of them. That's it. Like there really isn't anything more to it. It's just that simple. Is they're motivated. They want out of this property. What's my number that works for us as wholesalers? Put that in front of the seller, and we do deals. Like it's really, there's not this like super ninja tactics or some kind of like expert negotiating. You don't have to have all this experience in sales. We tend to think that sometimes, but not when you're in front of a motivated seller. What's the number? Put it in front of them and we'll get a deal done. So I love that.
Keep going. Next step here. What do you do once you get under contract at 175?
That's when we contacted.
Well, so we had a buyer's list. It wasn't
How big of a buyer's list?
What was that? I'm sorry.
How big of a buyer's list?
I think it was 82.
Yeah.
82. Okay.
But just listening through podcasts, I sought out and got a hold of Michael from the tribe and Michael McDonald.
Awesome, awesome guy.
And he has been unbelievable. And called him and I said, "You want a JV?" And he said, "Let's do it." And it was that easy. I sent it to him, and then it kind of just released more pressure off of us. And it was that quick until obviously trying to get the tenant out of place.
Okay, so these were tenant occupied, even though they're absentee owned, they were tenant occupied.
Yes.
So tell me this though, you're hitting some buttons here that I know even Jerry wants to chime in, but I want to ask you this: is so many times we're afraid to put the deal under contract because we don't have the cash buyers, and he did have 82. To put in perspective where you want to go and where you want to get to, and I'm going to chime in because Eddie Frazier said something. What best method are you using to getting your cash buyers? I rather have quality over quantity. And I will actually tell you, Eddie, I'm the complete opposite. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying I'm right, but I'm right. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. With that, I'm telling you, I'm the complete opposite. I don't have repeat buyers. I have over 9,000 cash buyers, and I don't have repeat buyers because I'm of the opinion that I'm busting my tail off. Brian's busting his tail off. Samantha's busting her tail off and stepping and stuff in flip-flops. And Jerry is out there doing his thing, busting his tail off. That I'm going to do everything I can to maximize how much money I make. And if they don't want to buy it, I give it to the highest bidder. The highest bidder, guys, comes from as many eyes looking at that contract that allows them to buy that property, as many eyes as possible. And so when I say quality over quantity, I always ask the individual, why? Is it because you don't want to build it, or do you really believe that? Because I'm of the opinion that when you have a low number of cash buyers, you will become what's called a CBE, and that's a cash buyer's employee. They will tell you the price, and they dictate the price. I'm the one spending money. I'm the one finding deals. I'll dictate the price, right? I want to do as much as I can for my family, and my goals is not to just bless my family. Part of my church, I want to bless missionaries to go out on missions, pay for their suits, pay for their luggage. Part of my goal is retire both my parents and Wendy's parents. And it doesn't help me if I sell it at a low price. It only helps me if I get the most out of every deal so that I can let this blessing that I really want to have happen come through, like pass through me, have this money pass through me so I can bless other people's lives. So Brian, Samantha, or Jerry, chime in real quick on this. And then Brian, Samantha, we're going to keep going because this is gold what you're sharing.
Yeah, so I'll do devil's advocate with you, Cody. So I think for a wholesaler, if you're getting in the business, your end game is to have a list like Cody. You want to have thousands of buyers on your list because nothing is more powerful than sending a text or an email and you got, people raising their hand wanting your deal, highest person gets the deal. I mean, that is the dream wholesaler business. The problem with that, I think sometimes, is newer wholesalers like Brian, who's got a list of 82, at that point in time, he's got to do one of two things. He's got to really cultivate his small list and really develop a relationship with that small list and kind of focus on that quality of his list, or tap into a Cody who's got a massive list, who for sure has a buyer, and he's got not only does he have a buyer, but he's probably got a better buyer than you'll find. And even if you split profits with that other wholesaler, it's the ease of the deal, and it's that home run buyer, that A+ buyer that other wholesaler has, that's now takes care of your deal, takes down your deal. That's powerful. That's huge. But, Brian, if you've got a 10-year plan in this business, or whatever your goal is to be a wholesaler, everybody should look at it and say, how do I build the biggest list I can as I go, right? You're not going to get there overnight, but as I go, how do I continue to build my list so that all I've got to do is push a button, send an email, and take the highest offer I get? I mean, that's the gold, right? That's really the end game. But again, don't ever let a small list stop you from doing the business and doing deals.
Brian, what split would be exact? What, if you wouldn't mind sharing, I hope this isn't too granular. Do you mind sharing what you had to split with the other wholesaler?
With Michael? We did 60-40.
You kept 60?
Yep.
Okay, so guys, look at this. Here's another thing I look at. What, did you try sending out to your cash buyers first, or just go right to Michael?
You know what? Everything happened so fast.
Because we ended up getting the 2 deals like literally a week within each other. So
Yeah.
we were kind of like,
And then just for me owning my own business,
Yeah.
I look at it as a business aspect of like, am I going to have time to sit here with 82 cash buyers?
Yeah.
Or am I going to learn way more from getting involved with somebody that knows what they're doing? Because I'd rather have a little bit of money than no money. And by the time we sent it over to him, literally within 10 hours, he already had it sold. So me and Samantha couldn't complain about the quickness, and then going over there, and I think we had like 6 people show up. So, and just
Guys,
learn.
look who just chimed in, Brian. I don't know if you can see that on the screen.
I sure can.
Michael McDonald.
That-
Brian and Samantha are rock stars.
Yeah. It's been great working with Michael, and me personally, if you can JV with somebody, not saying don't build your cash buyers list, absolutely, but you can learn so much more from other JVs that have been doing it, especially like addendums. Like we had to do so many addendums, I would have not even known where to even go to do that. So it's a learning curve, but at the same time, if you could build a relationship with someone, it's phenomenal.
it's well worth it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. You guys, I would always tell people on here listening, I would rather have 60% of something than 100% of nothing. So sometimes it comes down to that method. But the other thing that's crucial that Brian said that I want you to jot down is the bandwidth. Right now, they had 2 deals that came in pop, like really quick. And their bandwidth was, we still want to focus on getting deals. Sometimes what happens at the beginning stages when solopreneurs are wearing all the hats is when you take on disposition, you stop acquisitions, you stop marketing, and it puts this bog back in your business to where then you go a month or 2 months. When you hear people say, oh man, I did 3 months, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh man, I did 0 deals this month, or I did 0 deals for 2 months. It's because the effort that we're putting in today, we don't see the fruits of it for 30, 60, 90 days down the road, and vice versa. Any pinch that you feel, any struggle, trial, challenge, 0 deals in a month that you're feeling, don't look at what you did yesterday. Look at what you did 30, 60, 90 days ago, and that's why you're feeling the 0 deals. So I think you're brilliant in doing this with Michael McDonald. Great individual, great wholesaler, great buyers list. But more importantly, it allows you to not put a kink in the traction that you're building, not put a stop in the momentum that you're building right now. So I think it's beautiful. Jerry, you want to throw anything on that?
Yeah, I do. So there's another way to look at that JV model as well. And that is, as Brian and Samantha, as you start to cultivate some of your buyers on your own relationships, let's take the other side of it, and you build that relationship, those buyers are going to come to you if you're staying connected, and they're going to say, hey, I'm looking for another deal, or this is the type of deal I want. And you can use that JV model on the flip side of this just the same. And I'll give you an example. I've got 2 buyers here in Phoenix, and I don't do a lot of wholesale in Phoenix. I do in other markets, but here in Phoenix, I've got 2 buyers right now that have both come to me and said, hey, I'm looking for my next deal. Here's what I want. I want this price point. I want this area. I want this type of house. I'm looking for my next deal right now. I don't have it. I don't have it in my inventory. So now I can go to these big players that have deal flow, and I can say, hey, I've got a buyer. What have you got? And we can match the same way, opposite of what you just did, but that's another way you can really leverage the big wholesalers in your market, like Michael you talked about, or if you're, like a Cody, who's going to have, in his case, he's going to have deals all the time and he's going to have buyers all the time. So I want everybody to be thinking about it that way as well. If you've got one cash buyer that does 12 or 15 deals a year and they're telling you, hey, I'm ready for my next deal, take that cash buyer, go leverage the big wholesalers in town that have deals, and you can JV that way as well.
Love it. Love it. Love it. We've got a lot of 10K club people in here, Jerry. I love it. I love it. Guys, so let's get down to the nitty gritty, the stuff that's going to get me ringing this victory bell for you guys. You tell me, what ultimately were you able to do for this deal? You get it for 175. You tag team with Michael, and you put it out there. What were you able to do? What was a buyer able to pay for this deal that you got?
$11,100.
$11,100. Now, was that your cut, or was that the whole thing? And then you got
That was the whole thing. So
It was
whatever,
60% of it.
yeah, whatever 60% of it was.
You guys, this is phenomenal. And I want to pinpoint this, guys, because here's what I don't want you to also, well, I guess here's what I want you to see. Yes, is there a risk? Jerry, I've been following a lot of your posts lately, and I have loved your Instagram posts. Guys, if you're not following Jerry, the people that are here on my side and you're not following Jerry, please give this guy a follow, not only a subscribe to his YouTube channel, but also a follow on his Instagram, because he shares so many things that I think are just valuable, and it goes around what we're about to talk about. But my whole point is, everything I read, I'm like, oh man, that's a gold nugget. Oh my, I hope everyone that's following this is realizing how much gold is behind this. But what Brian and Samantha are sharing, I'm telling you guys, they're in it. It's not hard. It's not difficult. What they were willing to do, though, was get a little bit of information and take massive imperfect action. They weren't the professionals. They said that. They don't even feel like the experts now. I don't feel like the expert now. But I can tell you one thing that I'm willing to do, Jerry's willing to do, and Brian and Samantha are willing to do, and that is act imperfectly. When we come across a challenge, we figure it out at that point where I feel like too many times a lot of people don't get in the game because they're trying to build a perfect plan. And the perfect plan, it just doesn't exist, guys. It will never exist. Someone taking massive imperfect action will always outperform the individual building a perfect plan, taking no action at all. Period, the end. Anything you want to throw there, Jerry?
Yeah, I love that, Cody. And curious, Brian and Samantha.
I prepped it. I didn't. 2 seconds. Guys, $11,100, but really quick, how many hours do you think that took? This is what I wanted to say. $11,100. How many hours do you think that took from the first phone call to putting under contract?
First phone call to send to Michael and selling it?
Yeah, like all the time you spent on the phone, all the time you spent going to the property, and then sending it out.
I would say max 10 hours, and that's giving.
Over $1,000 an hour, guys. Guys, victory bell. That is awesome. $11,100. Sorry, all of a sudden I got on this tangent. I'm like, wait a second, I didn't even know for these guys. They just did a huge thing here. And they've done it twice, guys, due to time. They did this twice. They did $11,100. What did you make on the second deal?
Oh, that was it combined, wasn't it?
No, and then the other deal was $8,500.
$8,500 from absentee owner of age 45 and older with high equity. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Jerry, take it away.
Yeah, and I just did the math. 7,000 pieces got both those deals, right? So, and at 37 cents a mailing, that's about $2,500, $2,600 in direct mail spend to get you both those deals, right? So you had some costs there, obviously, for your marketing, but then you've got these two deals. And what was the total there, you said, on the two deals? What, 12 grand, something like that, Cody? Is that about right?
$19,600, almost 20 grand.
Almost 20 grand total between the two of them.
Yeah, and then you did a 60-40 split on both those deals? Okay, yeah. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, so that, like Cody said, that is awesome. I mean, how cool is that, right? That is so fun to be able to do a deal like that. My question I have for you, Brian and Samantha, is I always, whenever I do a deal, I kind of like to go back. I kind of like to say, well, what went great? What didn't go so great? What would I do differently? If I were to redo this whole thing, what would I do differently? And so let me ask you that question. Would you have offered less? What things do you think you would have done differently in hindsight?
I don't think I could change anything.
It was a good. Okay, Jerry. There you go.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to mute. Yeah. So you would say, you were happy with the offer the offer you made to the seller. You felt like the spreads were great. You wouldn't have done anything differently. Would you have tried to find your own cash buyer, or were you totally happy with the way you did it all?
No, I think the way we did it is the way I would want to go. I don't think it would have went as smooth not having Michael in our court. I think we've learned more with Michael. I don't think we'd be able to close those two. It's crazy simultaneously. Even at the closing table, they closed.
Didn't you say they closed on the same day?
They did close on the same day.
That's a cool payday, guys. That is a cool payday.
Yeah. So I don't think I would change anything, honestly. I don't think, I would renegotiate this or renegotiate that. I think we learned a lot. And
what did you learn? Maybe break that down. What did you learn then? If you're like, man, I think everything was meant to be. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe things took place the way. But what could you do better next time? What did you learn from it that could make you better next time?
Man, geez, that's rough. I don't know. I honestly, I'm kind of tongue tied because it's like,
and that's okay.
If I needed a question right now, I could just text Michael and he would have the answer for me, honestly. So it's always good to build relationships with someone. My biggest thing is I don't mind looking like a fool. So I guess I was always trying to be a little bit too perfect, maybe. And Michael's like, dude, just let it go. It is what it is. Just go back to the seller and you need to do another addendum. And you need to do this.
We did so many addendums for both properties. It was
because
crazy.
the sellers were getting upset because they wanted us to get the tenants out. And we're like, well, this isn't our job. This is your job.
Yeah.
But it was just a cluster. But Michael was always there just to support us and this and that. So it was overall a good experience and many more to go.
Fantastic. Jerry.
Yeah, the one question going back to the direct mail technique, right? The strategy. So you mailed out 7,000 pieces. I think you might have mentioned this. I just want to make sure this is clear to everybody. But you mailed out 7,000 pieces. Was that 7,000? Was the list 7,000 and you mailed the same list multiple times, or was it 7,000 mailed out in total? How'd that go?
So it was one list, 7,000 divided the 4 weeks, and that was it. We mailed it off one time, and just the luck of the draw, we got 2 deals.
Okay, so you said 7,000 spread out over 4 weeks.
Yeah. So 2,000, 2,200, 20. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Oh, here, Jerry, you're on mute. You're on mute.
$1,750 a week.
Okay. So let me just make sure everybody's clear about this. So you got a list of 1,750, mailed that list of 1,750 4 times for a total of.
Hold on. A list of 7,000 and just divided it by 4 so that 1,750 is going out weekly over the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But did the list get just one mail piece? Each person on the list you bought?
Yes.
Okay. So that's pretty phenomenal. I mean, that is pretty phenomenal. Now, how many times do you typically mail to the same list? Do you have a strategy for that?
Just whatever Cody tells us to do is what I just did. I mean, honestly, I'm not reinventing the wheel. So I already did it.
Yeah. So Cody, what do you advise though? Because Me personally, for the longest time, we would only mail 3 times to the same list. So we'd mail, wait a week or two, mail again, wait a week or two, mail again. And now we're doing it more. We're doing up to 6 times sometimes to the same list. And so I'm curious, Cody, how you're doing that.
Yeah, great question, guys. That's a fantastic question. What I do is I separate them anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks based on budget. We're at 8 weeks, but if your budget's a little restricted, then it'd go 10 weeks. So essentially what that looks like is the people that receive your mailing on week 1 will also receive it on week 10. The people that receive your mailer on week 2, 11, 3, 12, 4, 13, like that. So you're just spreading them out 10 weeks and you just put it on repeat. As for how long, it's endless for us. And here's why, guys. I want you to think about this. Not only is there that aged old saying that says 5 to 12 touch before someone chooses to go with you. Yes, there is some science, and yes, there is some mindset behind that is very true. 5 to 12 touches before someone says, man, look at this. This person's been mailing me X amount of times, and to call them, they're probably the player here. Yes, there's truth to that. The other thing is that you got to capture right now is based on our times is COVID-19 has created a lot of change in this market, and we're in the business of change. And so I want you to think about all the people that are saying no on week 1. If they lose their job tomorrow, which a lot of people are unfortunately losing their jobs due to COVID-19, there's a lot of change, and things can change in 10 weeks or things can change in 8 weeks enough where it may be a no, but 8 weeks later, it could be a yes. And typically, like Jerry was saying, maybe in the past, it wasn't mailing so much. Maybe it was 6, 7, 8 times, and then we drop them, pick up a new list. But right now, we're just seeing there's so much change going on and a need in the market for people that are good people, wholesome people, loving people, people willing to serve and really help these people get to Plan B. Sometimes I get emotional about it because that's our whole mission. It's improving people's lives with real estate solutions. That's what our whole motto is improving lives. And that means whether we buy it or not, every lead we talk to is an opportunity that we have to improve their lives for the better. And so I always want you guys to think about, what is this really about? Wholesaling or getting a home under contract at a deep discount is just a byproduct of loving people, serving people, being kind to people, being a solution to them. And if you can be that over and over and over again, the byproduct is you're going to get a lot of homes at a deep discount where you can then turn them for a profit and use that profit for hopefully being a good steward of. Yes, it's meant to bless you and the family and the loved ones, but also to go out and bless even more people from there. So that's my kick behind it. But right now, Jerry, I don't put a cap on how many people I mail or how many times because there's so much change going on in our economy.
Yeah, so kind of the one thing I picked up from what you were saying there too, Cody, is it's more about the weekly budget or the monthly budget. So it's like, and I saw this in one of the comments, is, well, what's a good budget for direct mail? Well, I mean, depends on what your goals are and how much you can spend in your marketing. But the one thing I tell people about direct mail is just start. I mean, if it's $100, guys, you're going to learn so much just going through the process of getting your mail piece and getting your list and getting the fulfillment company to send it out. And then, you get a call from it. It's just starting even with $100. Obviously you're going to get very, very little lead flow from $100 spend, but it starts, and then you can increase it from there. And then pretty soon you're allocating $1,000 a month, and then $5,000 a month. And, so it's just starting is more, the most important thing is always just starting. Scaling it once you start and once you dial it in, that's way easier than just actually doing your first mail campaign, right? And so I think that's a really important thing. But to just clarify to everybody, he took a 7,000 list. He mailed one time to that list spread out over 4 weeks, right? So he's spending so much a week, whatever that comes out to, total of about $2,500, $2,600 total spend. And he got that call from that seller. He got the 2 houses, right? So, that's how that can work. Now, one of the questions I saw that I wanted to ask as well, Brian and Samantha, is how many inbounds did you get though? How many people called in, leads did you get from the campaign?
Yeah.
I don't have an exact number, but there was a lot of phone calls that came in. A lot of them that were like, get out of here with the prices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have to at least say 40 to 50.
On the full 7,000, so 1% is 70, so you're just shy of 1% response rate. Now, guys, here's the killer thing to look at, and I love these two, is the fact that you got to look at response rate. That's great, and I could show you literally tomorrow how to get that response rate to 5%, but response doesn't necessarily increase conversion. That's the other thing you got to look at, and so it's not a bad thing that you're getting what you're getting, because look at your conversion rate. I don't know many people that send out 7,000 mailers and get 2 deals. That's phenomenal. That's called conversion. And I would much rather take conversion over response rate. And that's the beautiful thing that's happening. You might be getting a little bit less than 1%, but you're converting the ones. There was a question in here, and it just keeps kicking through. There's so many great questions here, guys. I'm so sorry. That was great. Someone already put it up there. Someone says, hey, what services are you using? There's many out there. Jerry could even put a bunch out there. I use Open Letter Marketing. That was that banner I put up earlier right there. You're more than welcome to use that. And that will tap into a postcard that's our postcard. Like, it's the right message to the right people at the right time. That is called the holy grail of marketing. And if you don't know those things, it's not just, hey, I'm going to send out stuff and I hope you respond. It's not that, guys. There is a real science behind what you put on that postcard. And it's the right message to the right people at the right time, mailed consistently over and over and over and over again. So fantastic job. So guys, Jared, you want to throw on?
Yeah. So Cody, curious. Well, Brian and Samantha, first of all, for you guys, when you did that mail campaign, where were the calls inbounding? Let's talk about that for a second. And Cody, I'd love to hear, what do you recommend as you scale? Because remember, guys, when you do a direct mail campaign, that mail hits the ground essentially at the same time, and you're going to get phone calls when that mail hits the ground, and you better be ready for it. So you don't want to spend money, get an inbound, and then you don't take the call, right? That's not going to be good. So Brian, Samantha, how'd you guys handle that? Where were the inbounds coming to?
Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna say goodbye. She's got to go to work, so she's gonna leave. So
Samantha, thank you for joining us. Thank you. Drive safe to work. And you say you're at the hospital?
Yeah.
Thank you for all you do, being a first responder. Thank you. We appreciate you. We love you. Go have a safe journey and take care of those people.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome. So Brian, go with that.
So Jerry, you were asking when people call in, is that correct? Okay, so when they call in, from what Cody teaches, we get onto CallRail and set up phone lines. So basically your cell phone's not blowing up. So basically the postcard has that number, it goes to a voicemail, then we respond back from that, or basically get all the messages from that voicemail, and then we'll go ahead and call them back from there. So that way your cell phone's not blowing up.
Okay, so Cody, if you need to clarify on that, because I know people are like, wait, what did he just say? So first of all, you do not want those inbound calls coming to your personal cell phone. I highly recommend you not do that unless you want to have a totally intrusive lifestyle where you answer the phone at dinner, which I don't. Like, that's no way to live a life, right? Because you want to get on those calls. So there's a method where you can do that, answering where they take the calls. One thing that we do sometimes too, and Cody, I'd love your opinion on this, is we'll use a live answering service. So you have a dedicated number, it's answered 24/7. They have our script, they know exactly what questions to ask. Now they're not trying to close the deal, they're just gathering the information that instantly gets sent to me or acquisitions, and then we're instantly back on that lead, calling them back up. And that's one way for pretty inexpensive, where you make sure you capture every single inbound and vet it. So the people that are ticked off that you called them and they want off your list, fine, we handle that. But the people that are like, yeah, I'm interested in talking to somebody about selling my house, boom, let's get a name, let's get an address, let's get a couple of things, and then that can get sent over to you or your acquisitions team.
Love it. Jerry. During answer this real quick, Josh Williams, how long did it take to start from finish on those 2 deals? Then I'm going to hop into this, guys. So Brian, how long did it take from start to finish, from the moment you had the first phone call to the time it actually closed? What was how many days?
I'm looking. It took October 5th and closed November 19th, I want to say.
Perfect. That gives us a great realm right there already. That's perfect. I hope that helps, Josh. Josh is my boy down in, he's not far from you in Las Vegas. He's in St. George, but lived in Vegas his whole life. So guys, on that, very great questions and great options out there. So here's the thing. Most people, when they start, they're not doing it full time. And that's why I love this method that Brian talked about, where you use CallRail, where you buy numbers so that when you're sending out your marketing, it's saying the CallRail number. It's not saying your cell phone. Jerry is spot on. I can't tell you how true that is. I don't want people having my cell phone number. It will ring to my phone if I need it to, but it will go through a system, CallRail. So you buy these numbers, and then that's the postcard you put on. So if you're sending to tax delinquent, you'd buy a number for tax delinquent. If you do probate, you'd buy a number for probate. Why? That's how you start to dial in on what is being your best marketing. Is it the probate list or the tax delinquent list? Well, the only way to really know is give each marketing campaign its own phone number so that you can track that and really know, so that if you have an extra $100 at the end of the month, you can say, hey, probate outperformed tax delinquent, so I'm throwing this $100 at probate. So that's first and foremost. But when you go into this full time, guys, we actually answer now every call live. So most people at the beginning stages, they're working a 9 to 5, and it's just not going to be possible. So to those individuals, I tell you, get back to those individuals in 20 minutes or less. I want you to think about this. If I know I need to get tires and I'm working a 9 to 5 and my car needs tires and I have 15 minutes during my lunch break, I literally am going to call. The first person that doesn't answer, I'm going to start picking up the phone again. I'm going to pick up and answer the third one. And if the third one picks up and answers and says, yes, and we have those tires in stock, guess who's going to win my business? The third person that answered the phone, because the 2 didn't answer the phone. Now, that's not to say that if you're number 1 and 2 because you work a 9 to 5 and you just need to get, my point is you got to get back to them in 20 minutes or less. That is the goal, because some of these individuals need to know right now. And so you've got to have some kind of alert system, whether it's a text or an email that lets you know a call just came in, so that you can get back to them 20 minutes less. So that's the first thing. If you're not doing it full time, that's my process. If you are doing this full time, get rid of that process and answer live, because right now I would much rather know we're about a 96 on average, 96% average. Every call that comes in, we're answering live 96% of the time. We're only missing 4% on average of our calls that come in every single week. Now, to that point, why do we do that? Because so many times we spend 20, 30, 40 minutes to call back these leads. And I'm saying per lead, like you call back, they don't answer you, so you move down your list, then you repeat that list. And then after 20 minutes on one lead, you get the phone call and they're like, oh yeah, I just called to have you take me off the list and tell you guys are dorks and I hate you guys, like remove me, and pound sand and all the other crappy crap that they say. And it's like, I just wish I would have not spent 20 minutes on knowing that I'm a piece of crap and that I should eat crap. Like, right? I'd rather know that up front. So that's why we answer live. We're now knowing instantly, boom, while they're on the phone, remove from your list. God bless you. Have a great day. And we move on. But there's nothing worse than using that valuable time to find out that they're going to tell you to F off or pound sand. There's nothing worse than that. And it's been 20 minutes that you spent into that. So maybe that helps Jerry answer some of the stuff you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it said that 50% of people do not leave voicemail. Right? So I don't know if that's true, but if that's anywhere near true, then here you've just spent all this money on your direct mail campaign. Someone picks up the phone, they inbound, it goes to voicemail, they don't leave a voicemail. And like Cody said, they're probably picking up and calling somebody else, and your competition is now talking to them. So that's why that live answering is critical. So, and again, I want to kind of focus a little bit on what Cody said here. the great thing about a dedicated number per marketing channel or per lead type that allows you to really hone in on your KPIs. And when you're spending money on marketing, you've got to know. In our business, Cody, we know where every penny goes with our marketing. We track all of that. We want to know what's our cost per lead, what's our cost per deal, right? We're watching that because this is expensive spending this money, and we want to maximize those marketing dollars, and we want to allocate the funds in the places where it's working the best. And that changes all the time. So there is no like holy grail where it works the same. This list is the best list, and it's always going to be the best list no matter what. Lists change, right? So, but what it does mean is whatever is working right now, I want to be able to put more money into that channel if it's working better. While we're budgeting, we're always budgeting to test lots of things, and we're looking for what's working the best, and then we're dumping more money into that. So direct mail can be something where if you don't do it right, you can waste and spend a lot of money and not really get much in results. Or you can really think through it carefully, dial it in, and be as effective as you possibly can.
Love it. Guys, here I'm going to put this, a couple questions of Spitfire, but I think we've had a fantastic call. Can you answer live with CallRail? Yes, you can. So it'll ping to CallRail, and then CallRail to ping out. Just so you know, we have 3 people's phone numbers ringing simultaneous, and that's why we're able to answer 96% of our calls, is because it's the first come, first serve. We have 3 acquisition managers, and it's first come, first serve. Whoever picks up that phone, that's your baby. You get going for it. So let's see, what system do you use? Let's see, those questions are coming in so quick that when I clicked, it literally kicked down like 3. And that's even the wrong one. What systems do you use for separate phone numbers? CallRail, again. That's one I use. Jerry, do you have anything else you want to throw to that, or is CallRail? Okay, perfect. Let's see. I think that is about it. Do you see any that we want to push or possibly have an option for a seller to reply by text? You can do this. This is great. Would it be a good idea, or is it possible to have an option for a seller to reply by text? You can do texting, guys. I do want to say this cautiously and not putting a pooper on the party. I do want to say that I do believe in 12 months or less, texting will be obsolete. The regulation and laws are changing so rapid that I will tell you, texting is already getting off my whole entire platform, because there's so many ways that can go wrong for you.
Yeah, that or budget in your text marketing for fines and lawsuits.
Yeah.
Because I know a wholesaler that does quite a bit of text, and he said, yeah, we budget to pay the fines. They pay their $2,500 fines or whatever they are, because it's so cheap. It's so cheap to text that for them, they're like, yeah, for now we'll just pay the fines when they come in. But you don't want to run the business like that where you're getting fined. Like, that's no way to run a business.
It really, and at the end of the day, it's going to get obsolete. And yes, some people will like to respond with text, but you can do that by simply, after you call them, maybe through cold calling, and they don't answer, then send a text to that number. That's very legal. What's not legal is this blast texting stuff. And they're trying to find all these loopholes and ways to not do it or do it. And I'm telling you, it's going to get crushed, and it's going to get crushed really quick. That's my 2 cents. I don't want to be a party pooper, but every party has a pooper, and the pooper is texting right now for me. What's the most effective way to run a team for wholesaling? This is probably a little bit outside on this one, because I know me and Jerry in the future are going to, let's see, that one. Me and Jerry are going to run some more stuff on this. We may even do a joint event about this, guys. So there's some fun stuff in the pipeline that we're thinking of. But this gets tricky at this point, because there is a right and a wrong way of doing that, and there's a way of doing it correctly so that you really can get that time back. So that there's my only beef for those that are on my email list and got my email today. It literally, the headline was, "I've got beef with Gary V." And it's because Gary V glorifies the grind. And I'm like, heaven, go glorify the grind. But you're completely wrong. I want to enjoy my wife and kids. I don't glorify the grind. At the beginning, I had to grind. But at the end of the day, guys, I want my time back. I want to be able to have memories with my kids. If I want to go to Magic Kingdom, because Disney's huge on our list, even though this year they crushed it. I mean, look at this. This is on my desk, for heaven's sakes. Walt and Mickey. And then I'll tell you, I want to be able to do that. If I want to go to the beach, I want to go to the beach. If I want to just hang out with my wife and kids, I want to hang out with my wife and kids. Glorifying the grind, go have at it, Gary Vee. You can have it, my friend. But the only way to do that is bringing on a team. So we will talk about this in future episodes, and then there could be something special where me and Jerry do something together to host some kind of a small event that will allow us to really hone in on that and take people to the next level. So you guys, I think that is a great wrap. Brian, thank you so much, man. You went in an hour and almost a half. I want to thank you because you added so much value today, and people can get, I hope you took your notes. Guys, there was so much gold given, and he literally shared step by step just how he did 2 deals, what list, how he got the list, what the phone call sounded like, how he got the contract, how he used the pictures of crap and everything everywhere to go back to get the contract even lower. Phenomenal gold here, guys. Amazing. Go implement. So, Brian, thank you so much for joining us, and please,
Thank you guys.
wife, a hug and a kiss for taking the time too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Jerry, final words, my friend. You finish it.
Yeah, Brian, you are a flipping genius, guys. Leave a comment in the chat box right there and say Brian, you and Samantha are flipping geniuses. Because really, honestly, it's so cool to see you take action, see you see results, see you learning and progressing. Clearly, you don't have to be an expert to get started and start doing deals. One thing I want to kind of focus on here too, real quickly at the end, is you got yourself a mentor. You started working with Cody. Cody said, do this, you did it, you got results. Cody said, do that, you did it, you got results. And rather than second guess or not take action, you just took that imperfect action and look at where you're at and look at where you're growing and building the business. And that's really what this is all about, guys. So real quick too, make sure you guys are tuning in. We're planning on doing this live streaming like this every Tuesday, same time. So we'd love to have you join us here. We're going to really think through topics and discussions and invite guests on like Brian to share what they're doing and what's working and do deep dives into things. So if you've got topics that you want us to cover that are important to you, please reach out, let us know, send a DM to Cody or me, and we'll be sure to kind of cover those topics. So, but always a lot of fun, Cody. This is just kind of one of my favorite things in the week now is to get on here and do this live. So love it.
Love you, brother. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.